What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Theme Park Guys. This is a little teaser at the beginning of the episode. Hunter developed this. This is his brainchild. But you can see Hunter's not here this week. I have my friend AJ with me. Hello, AJ.
Hello, hello.
We'll talk more about who AJ is and why she's here. And we're going to talk about running through the theme parks this week. So let's get into it. The theme park guys! I don't know what to say. That's how we're going to start
I don't know.
it. Hunter starts every episode with "Howdy, partner," and like that's not my vibe. So I'm just going to say,
You could
"What's
do a
up,
what's
everybody?"
up too. Correct.
Yeah. So a little bit of backstory. I have AJ with me here this week. If you guys follow me on social media, then you probably have seen AJ pop up, especially during run season, because AJ and I run all of the Run Disney races together. There's going to be some this season that we're not running together, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. And I'm kind of sad about it, but
That's understandable already.
but yeah. So we have AJ on this week. Hunter is on vacation in Colorado with the fam, and so we decided, hey, what can we do? What can we talk about this week? And I have such a strong passion for Run Disney. Again, if you've been following me, you guys know that. You guys know that I used to talk about it on that tracks a lot as well. If you're coming from the happiest podcast on earth, then you guys have heard this before. So,
Correct.
but we are going to talk about the history of Run Disney and kind of like how it started, which I think is pretty interesting. And then we wanted to talk about any other theme parks that have runs and running races through them. So we'll talk about that. We'll dig into it a little bit, and then we'll also talk about like our experiences with Run Disney, why we do what we do, and our passion for it, and then kind of like what the process looks like. But first, AJ, backstory. AJ and I know each other from the happiest podcast on earth. That is how we first met. AJ was there at the beginning, from the very
Yes.
beginning of the pod.
An
So,
OG cast member, rest in peace. Happy birthday, Tucker.
so AJ, who are you? Where are you from?
All the fun stuff. So yeah, hello, hello everyone. My name is AJ. Yeah, obviously, happiest podcast on earth is kind of like what got me into the whole social media sphere with Disney, and now I do my own stuff on Magically.AyJay, with the dot in the middle. AJ spelled a little funny. It's AyJay. If you want to come check out what we do over there. But I am a cast member over at Disney. I've been with Disney for about 5 years now, where I am a front desk manager over at Disney's Contemporary Resort when I'm not working, which feels like 24/7, I am really into fitness. I used to play softball in college, and so after leaving that behind, I had to find new ways to get out my energy. Being a washed up athlete, so playing softball, slow pitch, and then my mom was like, "We're gonna do races and marathons and this and that," and I'm like, heck no, we're not. Absolutely not. My mom used to run marathons when I was growing up, and I am very fast, but I'm like 60 feet, turn left, get to second base kind of fast. I am not 26.2 fast. So we did a Run Disney race because I was like, sure, we'll do one. You're insane, but like, whatever. And we did a half marathon with my dad and my brother, and it was so fun. It was so fun. And like, it did not feel like we ran a half marathon. Like, I did zero training for it. Granted, this was back when I was, you know, 22 or something. Like, I didn't need to train for it. I was 22. Um, and so we did this race, and it was literally the most fun I've like ever had during a sporting event, during a Disney event. Like, it was just so incredible. The atmosphere was insane. The costumes were so fun. Getting to run through, this was back when the half marathon went through Animal Kingdom, and getting to run through Animal Kingdom with like my mom and dad was like the coolest thing ever. And so that's what got us hooked into it. And then all of a sudden we were signing up for every race every weekend, and that's kind of where my content took off, was with Run Disney, which was super exciting. And so then I felt like, oh no, now I have to be a runner. And so I spent more like time and dedication into becoming an actual runner and not just showing up to these races with zero training. And it's been really cool. Not only has it opened up like a lot of cool doors for me, but also it's been a really great outlet, especially with the stress of life. Not being able to, smack a bat against a ball whenever I feel like it. I can go out and run. And I love it. It's been a really cool family, really cool community, and the Run Disney races are my favorite weekends of the year, mostly because I get to hang out with you and my mom, and we have those great memories together, but also, like, being able to meet this community that we've kind of grown through Run Disney has been so incredible, and I love it. It's just my favorite weekends of the year.
Yeah.
And you're right, we are missing some of the weekends this year, at least right now. Who knows? FOMO's going to catch up, and then we're going to get
Find
registration.
a way. Yeah.
But yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. So, backpedaling a little bit, you are a front desk leader at the Contemporary. But your journey with like the Disney company, you started in college program.
Yeah, I did the Disney College program in 2018. I was a Deepwater lifeguard at Typhoon, and then I went to quick service at Magic Kingdom at the Plaza Ice Cream Parlor. Left the company, finished school. I came back March 7th, 2020, um, and the world effectively shut down like during my training. So I left for like a year and a half until they brought me back. Worked at Kilimanjaro Safaris as my intern job while waiting for my real job to open up, which was concierge. Went to concierge at Pop Century and then became a manager in 2022. So I've been at
That's awesome.
Contemporary now for about 3 years.
And you loved your college program so much that it brought you back.
Correct, correct. It literally, like, I loved my college program so much that about 3 months into it, I called my mom and I was like, I'm not going back to Connecticut. I started at Wesleyan University in Connecticut, and I was like, yeah, that's just not for me. I want to study hospitality. And then it was between Cornell and UCF, and I was like, if I leave Orlando, I'm going to be so sad. So UCF won
Yeah.
out.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a better place to study hospitality
Yeah.
management than in Orlando, Florida. So
Correct.
UCF, their program is incredible for that. It's actually like right next to Epic Universe now, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Like
Yeah.
literally our parking lot, you just look out at like Stera Luna and Terra Nova or Stella Nova, whatever. Stella Luna. You can literally we watched them being built as I
It's
was
so
going through
wild.
the years. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
That's very cool. Yeah. So, and then during that time is when the Happiest Podcast on Earth formed and got started. And that's like when you started podcasting as well. So it's cool. Like your growth on social media happened like because of Ren Disney, but also I would say probably had the Happiest Podcast on Earth had a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. For
yeah.
sure.
So that's awesome. Very cool. And then this is a very busy time of the year for you at Good Old Contemporary. It's the week of the 4th of July. So I can
Correct.
actually, we're recording this on July 3rd. So technically tomorrow is the 4th. And I imagine that's a wild time to be working at the Walt Disney World Resort for sure.
Correct. Yeah, contemporary especially. I mean, when you have the perimeter fireworks that everyone's clamoring to see, and we have the best fireworks view on property that's
Yeah.
not inside Magic Kingdom. Luckily, I'm off today, and then I go close club tomorrow, so I get to see the craziness tomorrow. It's gonna be great.
I would imagine that a lot of people try to book dining reservations at Contemporary in order to be able to like be
Oh,
there to see the fireworks.
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of dining reservations, a lot. It's like Fort Knox in there though. Like if you don't have a
Yeah.
dining reservation or if you're not on a resort reservation, you're out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Which makes sense. I mean, you've got to give priority to the especially to the people that are paying to stay at these resorts. That goes the same at like last year we were at the Polynesian on July or maybe it wasn't last year. I think it was 2 years ago, but we were at the Polynesian on July 3rd. And we were staying there and it was very much like you got a wristband in order to like be on the beach, that kind of thing, which makes sense. Like you've got so many people that will try to like walk over from the TTC and it's a bummer for people that are actually like paying to stay at that resort to not have the ability to like watch the fireworks. But those perimeter fireworks, they're incredible. They're definitely something to see. If you guys have never spent the 4th of July at Disney, yes, the crowds are wild, the heat is intense, but the fireworks shows are truly next level. We
Yeah.
we watched we typically are at Epcot on the actual 4th. We will watch because what happens at Disney, and most of you probably know this already, but what happens at Disney is the Magic Kingdom will do their 4th of July fireworks show, like the big perimeter fireworks, on the 3rd as well as the 4th. Whereas Epcot will only do like their fireworks show after whatever typical show they have on the 4th, and it's like a way to like I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like end their fireworks show on the 4th. Like
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say bookmark, but that's not it. It's like a bookend or something like that. But uh, but that's typically how it's handled at Walt Disney World. And so On the 3rd, we will usually watch the Magic Kingdom fireworks so that we can like skip the chaos that is Magic Kingdom on the 4th of July and then hop over on the 4th to do Epcot. And we usually don't really spend that much time in the park on the 4th of July. We're usually at the pool because the resorts do so many fun activities around the pools. They do that on a regular basis, but they really like pull it out, I feel like, for the 4th of July. Are they doing
Yeah.
special stuff at Contemporary?
Yeah, like our recreation team has a whole bunch of stuff going on, and then like
Yeah.
our club level has a whole bunch of fun stuff going on. Like Top of the World Lounge as well is, kind of special for the fireworks, but
Yeah.
everyone kind of takes it into their own stride, like all the food and beverage. Well, not all. I think Chef Mickey's, at least. I don't know if Steakhouse 71 is doing anything, but I know Chef Mickey's is doing like special food and beverage. We're doing
That's
special
fun.
food and beverage on club level. So like we try to make it special,
Yeah. I
We're
love
not the
it.
ones setting off the fireworks, but we're still gonna make it a fun time during the day.
Yeah, no, it's fun. We've always loved spending our time at the pool because they do special games. We've been at the Yacht and Beach Club before, and obviously that pool is freaking incredible. But they have like inflatables that they put up, and they do like fun games outside, and they do like tattoos. It's like, I mean, obviously not real tattoos, but like kid friendly.
What's more American than getting like an American flag tatted on you? The 4th of July,
Yeah.
yeehaw.
But yeah, so it's cool. I like the way that people celebrate, and that's not just for the 4th. They do that kind of stuff for like New Year's and I mean even like Thanksgiving and Christmas. I've never been. I've been at the parks on Christmas Day before, but I've never really stayed at the resorts around those holidays. Um, just living local, it makes sense to be home.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's cool. That's a lot of fun. I was just I think about like, man, this is going to be a wild time for the cast members that are working at these places for
Correct.
sure.
I don't know,
Yeah.
it depends on the year. Like last year, the third and fourth at the resort were dead. Like my roommates work at the parks and they were coming home like crying, being like, this was such a crazy day. And then I came home like, nothing happened. It
What are
was
you talking about?
glorious. And then the fifth and sixth got my butt handed to me. And I'm like, you guys, July 4th is over. Where did you all come from?
It's so
Um,
interesting.
well,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
that's
see. It's so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so volatile. Like you never know what you're gonna get. Even if the
yeah,
resort's like still at 100%, 365 days of the year, one day is gonna be completely different from the next, which is like kind of fun, but
totally.
also,
Yeah. No, that's fun. That's exciting. Yeah, it's weird for us because typically our tradition is to be at Disney around the 4th, and so this year it's just kind of weird. Like we're just chilling at home, which is fine. Like we're
it's
hanging out,
fun.
gonna grill hot dogs. I've got some family coming over, and it'll
Yeah.
be it'll be nice and chill. But yeah, that's cool. That's exciting. Um,
Your neighbors will probably be throwing off fireworks all around you, so you're
yeah,
like, "Okay, the perimeter fireworks are lit." Like
not the
same
same.
here.
Nobody does fireworks like Disney. Truly, like the Disney company. That's they knock Walt Disney World in particular. I love Disneyland. I love their fireworks, but they're baby compared to what Walt Disney World can do because of the location for sure. Um, there's so much like residential area around Disneyland that they're limited in what they're able to do. So, um, Walt Disney World, they knock it out of the park for sure.
So, the amount of money they spend is probably insane. I don't
Oh,
want
I
to
don't.
know.
Yeah, I don't either. And then Epcot, I will say in particular on the 4th of July is it's like what just happened. But last year was kind of a bummer, so we really hyped it up. We had all of my family in town last year, and we hyped up the Epcot show. We were like, it's wild, like it's just, like it's something like you've never seen before. And so we got to Epcot. We got a decent spot. I don't know what the bridge is called as you like walk into World Showcase. I know there's like a technical term for it. I always forget.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but we were on that like main walkway, like in front of Spaceship Earth, um, and then like kind of between Spaceship Earth and World Showcase. And I mean, thousands of people are just like packed into that area like sardines for sure. But what happened was it had rained all day last year on the 4th of July. Like it stormed really bad and it got very humid as the sun was setting. And because the humidity was so thick, the the smoke from the fireworks was not clearing and there was no wind. So it was just basically when we watched the fireworks, it was
Oh
like
no.
a wall of smoke that we
You're
were
in a
looking at
cloud.
it. Yeah. And so we like had hyped it up so much, and my family was just like, yeah, this is fine. And it's just like we can't see a single thing.
I mean, realistically, at that very end point where it goes off like all at once, it's basically like a cloud of light. So either
Yeah,
way, it's getting amplified. Like
yeah. It
that
was
part is
fine.
insane though. Like there's like a silence after the end of the Epcot fireworks because it's like they shoot off every firework they have at once.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a silence where everyone's like getting their bearings, like blinking, like okay, I can see again. Can I still hear? Like what is happening?
Exactly. That was our first time watching it directly, like facing, because when you're facing World Showcase, you're essentially facing America with it being on the other side of the lagoon. I recommend like being on the side so that you can sort of see America in front, because there's fireworks that shoot up from behind America as well. But, anyways, next year, if you guys aren't doing anything for the 4th of July, I recommend it. Go stay at the Contemporary. You can say hey to AJ,
Come hang out.
and you're good to go. But yeah, so I hope everybody has a safe holiday for sure. And yeah, let's jump into Run Disney. So what year was it that you did your first half marathon?
Ooh, that was a wine and dine. I'm like looking at my medal wall right now. Probably 2021 maybe? Either
Okay,
2021 or 2022.
so speaking of history, digging into history a little bit, some info on Run Disney as a whole. Run Disney started at Walt Disney World. It started the first Walt Disney World marathon was held in 1994. So it was actually a while before like anybody was running through Disney. Obviously, the park opened in 1971. So like 23 years later is the first. And I would love to be, I would love to hear like who in some board meeting was like, or some boardroom was like, we should run around the park. You know,
I
like,
think we can make a race out of this, though.
yeah. It's also
We have the
interesting to
real
think
estate
about.
for it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's also interesting to think about with the first. So the first race was a marathon, and then I think it's the next year that they added a half marathon. But it's interesting to think about the fact that all of this happened before Animal Kingdom existed as well. So like now when you run the marathon, you run through all four parks. So you're going you typically are starting in Epcot, running to Magic Kingdom, running to Animal Kingdom, running through Hollywood Studios, back to Epcot, and then ending back in the Epcot parking lot. All of the races, especially as of lately, all the races have started and ended in the Epcot parking lot. I know that that's changed and it's been different from time to time,
Yeah,
but
like
it's
ours, I just looked it up. It was 2021 was our first one. We did the half marathon for Wine and Dine, and we started at the Magic Kingdom parking lot and ran to Animal
yeah,
Kingdom and back.
yeah. It feels like Run Disney has like really appreciated from a logistical perspective of running starting at Epcot, and
Mhm.
it feels like that's not going to change anytime soon. It may be like one-off races, but it's kind of a formula that I feel like they've developed, and they're like, we're running with it, you know,
Oh,
no pun
100%.
intended.
They found their groove. They're like, this is it.
Yeah,
This works
yeah.
for
Which
us. We can do it
it's not
well.
a bad thing. Like it's hard because there's a lot of ramps that you're either running at the beginning or running at the end of the race.
Right.
And we'll talk more about that for sure. But you know it works. So I don't know what the course was. I should have looked that up. I don't know what the actual course was for the first ever marathon, but I'd be fascinated to know because there was probably a lot of with not having Animal Kingdom and you're needing to run 26.2 miles, which by the way, for people that don't know, a marathon is 26.2 miles, half marathon 13.1 miles, a 10K is 6.2 miles, and a 5K is 3.1 miles. So I know that some of you may be like, I don't even know what any of this stuff means. But there's the
Just assume
breakdown
it's
of
a
the.
really long race.
Yeah. And 26.2 miles is it's a long distance for sure. So
Yeah.
but anyway, so the first ever Run Disney race, there was 5,588 runners, which is it seems like hearing that number, you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of people on the course. It is not
That's
compared to what we
nothing.
deal with now on those courses. We're talking like so. There's 26 races every year, and I've seen this number consistently, and I think it's probably grown since then because I pulled this number from articles that were written in like 2022 ish, and within the last 5 years, Run Disney has continued to take off. But
Hmm.
It's about 163,000 runners within those 26 races. So,
Wow.
that is definitely an increase. If you break down the math there, like obviously this is every race like fits different number of people and stuff like that. But that's 6,269 runners and that's per race. So like that would be, and
Right?
honestly that doesn't even really
That
feel
doesn't feel right. It feels like
the
there's
most
so
accurate.
many more.
So many more people. But I mean it could
I feel
be
like each race also is a little different. Like there's some of the 5Ks where I'm like, every person in the world just showed up to this 5K.
right. And I
And then
think
there's
they
some that have
increased
to like actually be
capacity
on there.
for those for sure. Every race probably has, and we don't know the specs of this stuff, only
There's got
the
to be like different capacities because like when you think about it, we do these things called waves. So when you start at like 5 a.m. and the elite runners go first, and then you wait 3 or 4 minutes, and then the next set of really great runners go first. You wait 3 or 4 minutes, the next set, and it's not like 2 or 3 waves. There's probably
oh yeah.
close to 15, 20 of these waves, and there's like thousands of people in each wave. Well, it feels like thousands. But they have
Yeah.
to do this for safety reasons. That way, you don't just let tens of thousands of people go at once and they're trampling all over each other. But there's definitely been races where, like, one day we'll show up and, we're not the fastest runners in the whole wide world. So let's say we're in the back and we're starting by like 5:20 and we're like, heck yeah, let's go. And then there's
Yeah.
other races where it's like 6:15 and we're still waiting to be let go because there's that many people showing up. So it's definitely got to
Yeah.
fluctuate.
Yeah, and I wish we could see the numbers on that because I'd be so fascinated. We talk about this every single race weekend. We're like, what is happening here? And then like you said, certain races do feel more crowded than other ones do. So um, either way, it's definitely thousands of people on the course. And if the first race ever was the Walt Disney World Marathon and it had 5,588 runners, and that was like how many runners existed on property for that weekend. And now we have like if it like let's say every race has 6,000 people in it, but you multiply that by four races because there's a lot of overlap for sure, but there's also a lot of people who come just to do individual races. Like a
Yes,
lot
that's
of
a great
people
point.
feel comfortable only doing the 5K. A lot of people feel comfortable only doing the 10K. You also have people
The
like
runners that are
AJ
like, I'm doing
and
the
I.
marathon and I'm waiting up. Or the
Well,
crazies
and
that do
so
all of them.
yeah, yeah. So with every run, let's do like a recap of what the Run Disney races are. So there's 4 weekends at Walt Disney World. You've got Wine and Dine in the fall. You've got Marathon Weekend, which happens at the beginning of January. You've got Princess Weekend, which happens in February, and then you've got Springtime Surprise. And the theming for all of these fluctuate, which creates excitement for sure because everybody wants to like get the medal of their favorite character. And the Springtime Surprise Weekend, we won't usually know. It's kind of shocking. Typically we'll find out around this time of year because registration happens for it at the end of July. And obviously they're going to want to make the announcement of like what the theme is so that people get excited about it and want to register for it. So TBD on that one for this year. Last year it was like sort of a heroes theme, which was a lot of fun. The way that those races work though, so Wine and Dine is the longest distance that you can run during Wine and Dine is a half marathon, and then you've got a 10K and a 5K. So there's three races that weekend. You could also do a challenge during Wine and Dine, which involves running the 10K and the half marathon. A lot of times the challenges don't include the 5K, which is important to know if you're wanting to like a lot of people talk about a perfect season or a perfect race weekend. That means running all of the races that were available to you, whether that season's at Walt Disney World or at Disneyland. But yeah, so that's important to know when you're going to register. If you register for the challenge, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've registered for the 5K because I think you and your mom have run into that before, AJ, where you
Yeah.
guys registered for the races at Disneyland and realized, oh shoot.
Yeah, legit. We had outfits packed and we showed up to Disneyland. Like this wasn't something we realized after we registered. This was months later. And we picked up our bibs and we were like, "Oh, we're not doing the 5K, I guess." Well, like
Which is
everything
a
worked
it's
out
a,
great.
a
Like
bummer for sure, but
yeah, it
um,
was a bummer because we were gonna have like a perfect season for
yeah,
like
which means you had
that
run.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah, like a perfect calendar year.
yeah,
And it just didn't end up working out, which is fine. We were like, whatever. We slept in. We went to the park that day.
yeah. So we'll talk about sleep in a second too,
Or the lack
but
of it.
yeah, but yeah. So typically the 5K won't be included with the challenge, but there's different challenges. So Wine and Dine, you have a challenge that incorporates the 10K and the half marathon. Something specific about Wine and Dine that I really appreciate is that they have an after party at, like the day of the half marathon, which is typically on Sunday. That evening they will shut down Epcot, but then keep it open late for all of the people who have tickets to this after party. But if you register for the half marathon or the challenge, that registration includes access to that after party, which is pretty cool. Um, so definitely something to take into consideration when you're paying that registration fee as well, because Epcot stays open. There's fun characters, there's DJs, you can ride rides. We had a great time with it last year.
That's
So
super fun.
yeah, so that's important to note as well. But anyway, so then marathon weekend comes around. Marathon weekend is there's four races: 5K, 10K, half marathon, and the marathon. There are two challenges with marathon weekend. It's the Goofy Challenge, which is where runners will run the half marathon and the full marathon. And then there's the Dopey Challenge. The Dopey Challenge started in 2014, and it involves running the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, and the full marathon. It's a total of 48.6 miles over the course of 4 days. And it's tough.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. So
Rough.
you guys have done Dopey 3 times?
3 times. Yep.
Yeah, and I've done it twice, and every time that I've done it, every time that I've run a Run Disney race, it has been with AJ and her mom. So,
Correct. Correct. We indoctrinated you into the
yeah,
cult.
my first ever race was during marathon weekend, and it was in 2023. It was the half marathon, and I was terrified. This was my first ever half marathon, my first like long distance run. I had done like 5Ks before, but the first time that I was doing 13.1 miles, and I was just like, how is this going to go? And so some of that like fear, and you guys have heard people talk about this, is that they do have people that will sweep you. So what that means is if you're not running at a pace that they need you to be running at, because you're running through roadways and you're running through theme parks that have to open, and those roadways eventually have to open in order to get people to those theme parks,
Mhm.
and you're doing all of this very early in the morning before the parks open, but they've got to be able to like clear the course in order to have all of these places function as normal. Um, so we, yeah, so I was terrified. And the sweepers they're referred to as the balloon ladies, which is something that people have probably heard of before. But they're quite literally like they're not always every time that I've seen them they've been women, but I don't think it's necessarily like they don't have to be ladies. But
They're like a
what
little girl gang, and I love that. I've come to know one of them quite personally, and so Heather, if you're listening, I love you. But they are just like this little itty bitty girl gang, and again, I've never personally seen a man do it before. Doesn't mean it's not
yeah,
possible, but it is like this group of probably 12 or so women that they'll trade off who gets to do it and like who's doing which races, and they are the nicest, sweetest people ever. They're only intimidating because of what their job is, like what it entails,
right.
which is to take you off the course if you're not going the appropriate
Yeah.
speed. But they're the nicest people in the whole wide world. Like, I know they're so scary, and their like premonition of them is so scary, especially when you've been training for these races, when you've spent a lot of money and time for these races. But they're the nicest people ever. Like,
Truly, they're the best. And like it is terrifying when you see them when you're on the course. Like we've been in positions before where we've been on one side of the boardwalk and we
oh
looked
my
across
gosh.
at Yacht and Beach Club and seen the balloon ladies, and they're called the balloon ladies because they walk, they're like power walking essentially. They maintain a 16-minute mile, and so you have to stay ahead of them. And so that's important to know. If you're ever training, you're going to have to stay above or below a 16-minute mile, because if you don't do that and you plan on stopping for characters, there's a lot of like logistical things that go into like figuring out that timing. Obviously, if you're starting, because there's been moments where we've started an hour ahead of the balloon ladies based on the corral that we get placed in. And corral placement happens After you've registered, Run Disney handles all of that. The fastest runners get placed in the earliest corrals. Obviously, they want those runners to be able to clear the course. They want those runners to. I mean, if I'm running for PR, if I'm running for time, the last thing that I want to do is like be weaving it in and out of like traffic on the course. I want to be able to get out there and get my race done. Um, so it makes sense. There's a lot. I think there's questions sometimes of like, well, why are the fastest ones at the front? It's because they are going to clear the course the fastest. Whereas like you have people like AJ and myself who are not the fastest runners. We probably, if we mentally like put ourselves like out there to like run hard, we probably would finish it a lot faster than we typically do.
Oh,
But we go out there,
100%.
yeah, we go out there to have a good time, and we do. We Run Disney is like kudos to the people who use it and can like fly through those courses because I think it's still a magical experience for them. Like not everybody gets to say they PR'd while running under Cinderella's castle, in a half
Correct.
marathon. But for us, we like to enjoy the course. We like to take in the magic. We like to meet the characters and
Mhm.
stop for the photo spots. And we're also content creators, so we stop to film a TikTok every once in a while.
Correct. Oh,
So we
priorities.
have, yeah, yeah, we have fun though. And everybody has fun in their own way on those courses for sure. But yeah, so the balloon ladies they walk with balloons, literal like
Like
Main
big old
Street
Mickey balloons.
Mickey balloons. Yeah. So when you see them coming from a distance, you're just like, oh no. And your corral placement is going to be dependent on what you anticipate your finish time to be. So if you anticipate your finish time to be super fast, you'll have to submit a proof of time, and you can get that by running an official race, any official race elsewhere, as long as you have a proof of time to submit that if they like actually tracked the time in that race. And then they just kind of stagger it. And this is something that we don't really know how this works either because it doesn't always make sense. Like some of us get placed. I will register, and registration is something that we can talk on as well, but registration is sort of like may the odds be in your favor because it just
Yep.
pops up and you have different people trying to get in. But it does help a lot if you have a group of friends that want to run together, everyone trying to get in on their computer, and whoever gets in has the ability to register themselves, but that they can also register the people that they're wanting to run with as well. And so there's been a lot of times where AJ's mom or AJ usually is not in the mix here because AJ's usually at work when
Usually
registration.
working. And like I've even tried, like I'll have my personal phone like up in the corner because I'm usually doing schedules and I'll just have it on the side to see. And I have never gotten in with those guys. I am cursed. Like
So
y'all are so
AJ
good at it.
AJ's mom and I have been able to like go back and forth and like registering people for these races, people being us, and so but it's happened before where I have registered all three of us, put the anticipation time to be the same for all three of us, and one of us ended up in a corral that was not the same as the others. So it doesn't always make sense. You just have to kind of go in and just expect the unexpected with your corral placement.
Correct.
And the way it works is the corrals are labeled as letters. So you have usually like A through E, F typically. And when you are in a corral, you can move back. Like you can start in a corral that's behind you, but you cannot start in a corral, obviously, that's ahead of you.
Yeah.
So
Even if
that's
five out of your six people are in Corral B, if you're in Corral E, you're not moving up.
correct. So that's important to note as well. There have been times where we've just like held back. If like one of us was in D and the rest of us were in C, when we just all start in D together. But there's also been times where like AJ and her mom or I remember this was like I don't know if this was my first half. It was one of the races and I was like in the last corral and they were like maybe two corrals ahead of me and they started so that they could like go meet characters, take their time. I I booked it. I was like, which is not a good
Booked
idea.
it. Like
Yeah.
we were only 2 miles in, and you
Yeah.
were on our tail. We
Catching
were
up.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, we were expecting to
And
see you at like mile 8."
they started like well ahead of me. Like there have been times in the corrals where if we're further towards the back, especially with the 5K and even the 10K, we have seen people finish the race before we've even started the race before. And these are obviously very fast runners, but it takes a while to get through the corrals. Like the races typically start at 5 a.m. There's a lot of times where we are not on the course until 6 an hour later. So that's something to anticipate as well. And that does become a struggle, especially during races like Marathon Weekend or Princess, where it's cold. And like we're Floridians, so cold is definitely relative to us for sure. But it legitimately is very chilly. Like this past year, I mean, the temperatures were in the 30s, and you're just standing around. You're not moving your body much. You're waiting in these corrals.
And
And
it's so
so
humid that it feels like you're in a wet, cold blanket.
it's awful. So what we typically will do is go to like Goodwill or even Walmart and buy like cheap clothes, like layers, so that we have them on, and then you can shed your layers as you're going through the course. And what happens is, but people probably see this and think that it's like super wasteful, but it's not. So what you can do is like when you shed your layer on the course, someone comes behind and picks up all of this clothing, and then Disney turns around, takes that clothing, and donates it. So you're also like shedding layers, you're keeping warm, and you're donating to a good cause, which
Yes,
is
it all works out.
win all around. But yeah, so that's kind of how like corral placement works. And so, anyways, going back to Dopey, the first time it ever happened was in 2014. There are people that have perfect Dopies, which means they've run Dopey every year since 2014, and I think that is the coolest thing ever. Like, I think
Crazy.
it's incredible. Yeah.
And then
Um,
Goofy, the Goofy challenge is when you do the half marathon and the full marathon. And I think that's gone on even longer than the Dopey
yeah.
challenge,
Yeah,
like
it has. I
significantly
don't remember
longer.
the
There's
year
like,
that it started. Yeah,
yeah,
but
I want to say it's at least 20 years. Like it's been a while or something that Goofy's gone
it
up,
just
and there's a bunch
celebrated.
of Goofies.
Yeah, it just celebrated 20 years, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there was like I
craziness.
think it was on the medal, which
Oh yeah,
I
I'm
don't
looking
that
at my
medal
medal right
is
now. There's a medal 20 on it.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Um, so it
And
celebrated
we
20
weren't
years
perfect
this year.
in one of these races, which it would be so cool if Disney came out with a new race and then we got to be perfect at that race. Um, Typically they don't do a whole lot special. Like you don't get special registration, you don't get a special corral or anything. Your medal, like the band of it usually says like perfect, 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 perfect all around the like neck band. Sometimes they'll get like little swag bags and stuff, but it's a pride thing. It's a bragging
Yeah,
rights thing for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, and like
Like
once you're hooked, you're hooked. I don't think
you're
there will
hooked.
be a time where I don't do Dopey. Like this coming race
My
season,
body
I am
physically gives out.
yeah, exactly. It's just it's such a good time, and I know people hear that and they're like, "There's no way that much running is a good time." But when you can push your body to do things that you didn't think you could before, which was me during my first marathon, I was just like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, especially after you've run 3 days in a row. And we really take our time with the 5K and with the
Mhm.
10K. We don't like overexert ourselves with those races by any means. The
We're in more
5K,
trouble getting swept on the 10K than we are in the marathon. Like we've
correct.
almost gotten swept on the 10K a couple of times.
Yeah, yeah, and because we're trying to take our time, we're trying to save our legs as much as possible.
The worst part
But
is
it's just
waking up.
yes, that it's
That's
such a good time with the exception of the sleep deprivation
correct.
because these races start at 5 a.m. You need to be out there. There's times where your corral will close, and obviously, if you have a decent corral placement, you're wanting to get into that corral before it can close, and so you want to get there as early as you can without it closing. There are people who will get there very early, and sometimes I like
Or
getting to
even
the
later.
course. Yeah,
There'll be
sometimes I
times
like
where
to
I
be
like
that
wake up and
person.
I'm scrolling on Instagram and people are already posting that they're in their like, corrals and I'm like, y'all are insane. Good for you, but like I'm sleeping in until the last possible second.
That is definitely a AJ and her mother thing is that like they are going to roll out at the very last moment, and sometimes that stresses me out to great extents for
Every
sure.
time it stresses me out. They're the worst.
But there are times where like I do like to get to the course to the because they do like a pre-party before the race where there's a DJ, they've got characters meeting and greeting, and like the energy is high for the most part. People are still exhausted, obviously, but it is fun to get there a little bit early sometimes and kind of like get your bearings and figure out what you're doing. If you've done a lot of races, it's a little easier to get there a little later and just be like, I don't need to see these characters. It's really whatever you want out of it for sure. But
Yeah. And
um,
especially with like one corral closures, you got to be really careful about that because you're parking at Epcot and the walk to get there is like a mile on its own.
yeah,
So just be wary because you have to go
she's
through
and
park
she's
security.
not exaggerating there.
I'm
You,
not.
yeah,
That's your warm
you,
up is the walk through security and all that.
yeah, because you
Um,
will walk like you're going to the park. You go through park security, but then you have to turn around and walk back to the far parking lot. So
Correct. You're basically just doing the biggest U-turn known to man.
yeah,
Not only that, the road closures. So you don't have to worry about this for the 5K because it's all within Epcot, so there's going to be no road closures. 10K, typically no road closures. I don't think we've ever had a 10K with road closures, but I'm going to put an asterisk by that because you never know. However, the half marathon and especially the marathon, they will close down the roads to get to and from the parks so that they can prep their water stations, they can prep the runners getting ready to run out, they can do one last sweep of the roads to make sure they're in safe conditions. And those road closures happen pretty early, and it really is dependent on the race, the weekend, the this, that, and the other. Because we've had some race weekends where, the road closes at 4:45, so we don't have to worry about it because we're definitely in the parks by then. We've had other races where they're closing at like at like 3:30, and I'm not even
yeah,
like out the door by 3:30.
yeah,
You
yeah,
got to be aware because like luckily Disney is not like the biggest place in the whole wide world, but it'll definitely add some time, especially if the traffic gets really bad. We've had a couple of races where maybe we detour and we detour and it takes an extra 5 minutes to get there, no rush, no worries. We've had others where we've had to detour and the traffic to get in is like an extra half hour, 45 minutes because there's
yeah,
everyone and their mom trying to get into a single lane into Epcot. It's
yeah.
scary.
It's
Give yourself
wild.
plenty of travel time.
Yeah,
I'd
no,
rather
I
get
mean
there and
even
sleep in the car.
no, even this past race weekend, springtime surprise, there was a morning where it was like, what is this traffic right now? What is happening? Are we
Yeah,
going
we
to
were
make
getting
it?
really nervous, and we're like, "Do you think they'll push the race time back?" Because all of us are stuck here. Like, it's not like a couple
Yeah,
of people being late. It was
yeah,
hundreds and hundreds of cars.
yeah.
Craziness.
So definitely prepare, and there's also bus transportation. So we choose to drive, but there's also bus transportation if you're staying in a Walt Disney World resort that will take you to the courses as well. And so buses run before the race, and then buses run after the race to take you back to your resort. So
Hmm.
that's another option for people. Um, Spectating, your spectators can come with you at the beginning of the race. None of our families are waking up that early to come watch us
So
start the
painful.
race.
Absolutely
But then spectators can come at the end of the race to watch you finish as well. And then depending on the course that you're on, if you're doing like the half marathon or the marathon, there's spectating areas around property as well. So if you do a half marathon and you're running up to Magic Kingdom, which is the case for a lot of the halves, you can spectate typically at the TTC, and then the one of the best places to spectate, I guess. I have never been a spectator before, but would be on Main Street at Magic Kingdom. It's just like so iconic, so incredible as runners run down Main Street. Like there's music playing. It's just magical. It is so cool and so iconic for sure. But anyways, so yeah, that's marathon weekend. Happens the beginning of January, and whenever you hear people talk about Dopey, that's what the Dopey challenge is. It's all four races. It'll kick your butt for sure.
really crazy.
Yeah.
Correct.
The marathon, it's just when you get to the marathon, it's wild because when you finish your first three races, so when you run the 5K, the 10K, and the half, you're still not halfway done with the amount of miles that you're putting on your body that weekend,
It's
which is kind of
insane.
crazy to think about. Yeah. But the marathon, it's tough for sure. It's a long distance, and you definitely want to be prepared for the marathon for sure. I mean, Hunter ran his first marathon this past year. He didn't do any training for it.
Great to
and
go.
and he suffered for it. I mean, his legs were really jacked up afterwards. He could barely walk.
This man
And
was delirious. Like we were at what mile 23 at Hollywood Studios when we ran
yeah,
into his family, and there was not a light on in the house. Nobody was home. He was
he
doing
was
nothing.
struggling. There's a part of the race where you're at like mile 20. one ish, and you're in the Blizzard Beach parking lot, and you're basically just running like a lap or two around the Beach parking lot, which is absolutely awful.
Yeah.
But he looked at me at that point and was like, "My knee is locking up on me. Like I don't know if I can really run anymore." And I told him I was like, we had created enough of a buffer at that point between us and the balloon ladies where I was like, listen, if we power walk the rest of this race, we're gonna finish it. Like we'll be good. I was like, we can walk, and he's like, no, 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 I can do this. And I think like seeing his family at Hollywood Studios gave him the boost that he needed to be able to finish the race. But
Correct.
it,
And the
it's tough.
mint julep at the
Yeah,
finish.
yeah, it's tough though. It's definitely like you have to train for these races. You cannot get out there and just think, yeah, I'm going to wing it. And then like, and not so much even for like a stamina perspective, which that plays a factor for sure, or even your muscles, but like your joints. That's what was hurting Hunter was his knees.
Yeah.
Like his joints were not prepared for that. It's not so much like, oh, like my body can handle it. I'm young. I've got this. No, like your body needs to be prepared for the amount of like impact that you're putting on your feet and your knees and your
Yes.
joints for 26 miles. Like it hurts.
The
So
feet thing is a huge deal. So, like, I know I mentioned earlier when I first started these races, I was fresh out of college athletics. So, like, my body could physically do it. But one of the things I'm going to touch on three different things. The first one is the time on your feet. The time on your feet is intense. Like, not only are you doing the 26 miles, but you're also walking through the parking lot. You're waiting in the corrals. You're having to walk back at the end of the race, this and that. You're going probably to the parks because you're here on vacation, so why not? My
yeah,
biggest tip was the weeks leading up to the race, not the week of, but the weeks leading up, I made sure to spend like as much time on my feet as I could at my job, whether that be, working and standing at my computer, whether that be, trying to take less like sitting breaks and whatnot. And luckily, I have a pretty active job. I'm not sitting in a cubicle all day, so I was able to kind of modify my lifestyle to get more time on my feet, which I think helped out so much because I had so much less fatigue. The dogs were silent, they were not barking. But that's a huge, huge, huge deal because even though, like,
yeah,
yes, my body could physically do it, my feet were not ready for that first marathon. So that's a huge one. Another tip with training is footwear. Like, make sure that you are doing your research. Like, what kind of arch do you have? How do you hit your foot when you run? Go to a, fit to run store or your local running store and take one of those silly tests where you're on the treadmill and you feel like a goofball and they're telling you. Because, like, I always felt like those were a gimmick. I'm like, nah, they're just trying to sell me a shoe. It's not. It's science.
yeah,
Please go and figure out what's best for you. That way, you're not buying these, $150 pair of shoes that you're gonna put on and then have blisters, and it's gonna do worse for you and your body and your training and be more prone to injury. So do your research, figure out what works best for you. That super stylish viral TikTok shoe is not always going to be the best one for you, and that is okay.
yeah,
I used to only wear shoes that matched my outfits, and I did get hurt being an idiot and doing that. So I now am like way more conscientious of what I'm wearing. Or like I know when I first started, I tried Hoka's, and for me, Hoka's just did not work for me. But I was so mad because they're so cute.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you just have to like you got to pick and choose. You got to figure it out, trial and error, to see what works best for you and for your mileage. And my
yeah.
third thing is with your fueling because not everyone is going to like the same things, and you got to know how to fuel your body because on these races, there's not a lot of food. Like the
No,
half marathon, there's nothing. I don't believe. Maybe sport beans, which are like little
yeah,
gummy beans that have energy in them. For the marathon, you have like two banana stations and sport beans
yeah,
for 26 miles. You gotta be prepared and bring your own stuff. And that looks different for everyone. We love Nerds Gummy Clusters. They have some really great fast acting carbs. I personally love the Morton gels, but then I hate like the chia seed gels because I don't like the way I love chia seeds usually, but like in the gels for some reason, they make me so nauseous and like they're so hard for me to eat. So then all gels are going to be different, all like chew blocks are going to be different. Texture is a big deal, taste is a big deal, the way it reacts to your stomach is going to be a big deal. Cuz like that's what I was most scared for Hunter is that we were going to give him a gel and he was going to like puke it right back up because he's
yeah.
never had one before.
Right. I personally I don't love the gels. I like
No.
carrying like Stroop waffles with me, Stinger waffles. Those are like a quick way to get some carbs. And your body needs these things while you're running 26 miles because you're burning through so many calories and so many carbohydrates. I think when I finished the race, I've burned like, I want to say it's like 3,000, 4,000 calories or something like that. It's wild, like the amount
Insane.
of, yeah, the amount of stuff that you're burning. So we also bring like meat sticks with us, like a quick way to get
I
some
love a good meat
protein.
stick.
Me
Yeah,
too.
protein and
Delicious.
it's salty, so it's helping you retain that water because you're
Right.
sweating it all out.
Right.
Another one that we love, Noogs, if you're listening, we love you so much.
So much.
It's literally
Truly,
sour candy.
yeah, truly. Like they're absolutely delicious, and they also have like a lot of electrolytes in them that help you get through
Mhm.
the race as well. So they're giving your body what it needs as you're running these long distances. So,
Yeah, because
and
each snack you have is going to have something different for you, whether that be the protein, whether that be the electrolytes, whether that be the fast-acting carbs for energy. You're not going to have a one size fits all. So definitely do your research, see what works best for you and your body.
yeah,
That way you're not struggling at the end, because it's also going to help with your recovery time if you're not depleting all of your resources during that race.
yeah, and you can buy a lot of these things at the expo, and expo is basically the hub for Run Disney weekends. It happens at Wide World of Sports. They're on Disney property, but it's where you're going to go pick up your bibs. That's where they have all the merchandise. So the first day is typically pretty wild because everyone's trying to get that merch and it sells out very quickly. People are snatching things out of other people's baskets. So it's very intense,
Hunger
but
Games out there.
yeah, but but there's a portion of the expo that will have a lot of like the sponsors and different vendors that will be at these booths, and they sell a lot of these products. But like AJ said, I wouldn't wait to get to expo to try a lot of these things the day before your race, because if
Yeah,
your stomach reacts negatively to it, that's going to impact your race and it's not going to be good. So
correct.
but yeah, so
And your
kind of
stomach
rounding.
is different when you're just standing around shopping versus when you're 18 miles in. So keep that in
Correct.
mind as well.
Yeah. Well, and also like access to bathrooms. Like there's porta potties for
That is
sure.
for real, though. That's so real.
There's porta potties on the course, but the lines for those porta potties sometimes are very intense, and you, if your stomach is messed up, you might like need faster access to a bathroom.
Right.
My recommendation is go to the bathroom in the park. Even if you don't feel like you have to go to the bathroom that badly,
Try.
use the park. Yeah, use the park rest. This is going to be like the dad in me where I'm like, just try. Where like the kids are like, well, I don't have to go. I'm like, do it.
Do it.
But
Don't
it's
touch
true
the
because
cart.
I'd much rather use the bathrooms in the parks than I would the porta potties. And again, you have no idea where those porta potties are stationed. You're just like running and hoping that you find one.
Yeah.
So the park restrooms tend to be, and don't use when you enter a park, don't try not to use the first bathroom that you see when you've entered that park, because the lines for those bathrooms tend to be long because everybody's going there.
Hmm.
You if you're familiar with the Disney parks and like where the restrooms are, just wait for the next one, and it's typically not as wild. So
And they will release the course map. So like if you have stomach issues, like my little brother has stomach issues, and he's one of those people that has to plan out like where each bathroom is
yeah.
just in case. So like legit when we ran that race, that half marathon, we were sitting down and going, okay, there's a bathroom here and a bathroom there, and a bathroom here and a bathroom there.
Yeah. No,
Like
it's
that's
good.
what you gotta do, man.
They do, like you said, the releasing the courses early helps a lot too, because it gives you like a mental, it helps you prepare mentally, which half the battle is I mean your body is battling for sure, but it's a mental game as well out there, like telling yourself, I've got this, we can get there. And Run Disney races are so encouraging and so supportive. And I know I said we were going to talk about theme parks, we'll talk about some of the other parks as well. We just, this is what we have our experience in running Disney, obviously.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's a mental battle out there for sure that you have to
Yeah.
like, and that's why for me it's so helpful to run with friends, because we're there encouraging each other and it's motivating to run together. There are a lot of races I don't think I could do a marathon by myself. I don't know.
No, there's no way.
Yeah, I don't
I
think I could do it.
I get so bored.
Me too. I would be so bored. I'd have to find other people that I'd pace with. And that's another thing to note. There are pace
Oh
groups
yeah, good
that
point.
happen in these long races where they'll carry like a sign, and that sign will have like an anticipated finish time for them. So basically they're pacing in order to finish in that amount of time. But it's great. Like people tend to find these pace groups and they do walk run, which is another thing we can mention as well, We're not out there running the entire 26 miles. We are doing a walk run. So we're running for a certain number of seconds and then we're walking for a certain number of seconds. And that's how we're pacing to get through the race, which is something that Hunter didn't anticipate when we first started. He's just like, he was thinking, like, get out there, like, guns blazing and just go. And we're like, buddy, like, scale it back, which is super helpful. When you start these races, your adrenaline's going to be like pumping because you're so excited and you're pumped and you've trained for this moment and you're going to do it. Especially if this is your first race, like, you can't wait to just get out there and crush it. You do not want to start fast because you're going to burn all of your energy. You're going to put your body through so much, and then by the time you're halfway through the course, you're going to be on the struggle bus. So
Yes. Which is
we
kind of what
train.
happened to Hunter. Like those first few miles, he would like
Yeah,
leave us behind. He's like, I
yeah,
can't walk. And then
yeah.
by the end of it, he's like, I can't run.
Like, I'm having a hard
Little
time
skip.
walking. Yeah, yeah,
Correct.
yeah. So yeah,
They
you have to pace yourself for sure.
Yeah, and they also release these pacer groups before the race as well. So it's the Jeff Galloway team that does these. They're kind of like, I don't want to say they're the sponsors of it, but like they're the ones that are like the official pace groups. And they will release it beforehand saying, hey, hypothetically, AJ is going to be in corral like 5 in wave, or excuse me, corral B, like wave 5, and she's going to be running a blah, blah, blah time. And it'll say, like, maybe a 6-hour marathon with 30 walking, 30 running, or maybe like a 5-hour marathon with like 45 running, 30 walking, or blah 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 blah. Like they will release those times. That way you can kind of gauge who you need to look for. Granted, let's say the pacer group you really want is in corrals in front of you. You're not going to be able to go start with them, but maybe that's something that you can, gauge. Like, okay, I'm going to go try to catch up to these people and then stick with them the rest of the race.
Yeah,
But they're an amazing group. Like my mom and I did not know that these things existed, and we were struggle busing during Dopey, and I think it was the half marathon. Like we woke up that day, our first Dopey, and we were like, "Oh God, we do not feel good. The vibes are bad." Like I personally, like I know I'm a pretty emotional person when it comes to like when I first wake. Oh my
you
God,
just had
fireworks just
fireworks.
exploded in my Zoom screen. I know like when I wake up for the day, like my emotions run very high, and so like we got to make sure that the vibes are high, or else the rest of the day is not going to be good. And we both woke up that day and we were like, oh no, the vibes are bad. Everything is awful. We're so mad at the world. Our bodies hurt. What is happening? Blah, 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 blah. And we were struggle busing, and we honestly were like, oh, we don't know if we're going to finish. And then we happened to run into this pacer group, and we were like, what are these guys doing?
Yeah,
What is happening? These guys look insane. And then we ended up joining them for a little while, and it became the best things ever. And now we do it every single race. The run,
yeah,
walk, run is like saved our butts.
yeah.
It's
It's a game
really
changer for
awesome.
sure. Yeah. So definitely, like, pay attention to that if you're needing if you are doing it by yourself, find a pace group if you don't want to. Some people probably get out there on the course and they're like, nah, I want to do my thing, be alone, and that's amazing. I wish that I had that ability. I do not. I'm self aware enough to know that, like, that would be a struggle for me. But
Correct.
the rest of the race weekends, you've got Princess Weekend, which to me is probably one of the most popular weekends at Run Disney. It's so popular that AJ and I currently don't have a spot in Princess
Correct.
Weekend
Correct.
because it sold out before we were able to register. Because there was a lot of issues this year in particular with registering for Princess. The website crashed, and so when registration began, it was very random how it was all working. So that was a little bit of a bummer for sure. But we'll see. There's always opportunities for new spots to open up, but there's also opportunities for you to run with a charity, which is pretty cool. You raise money to get a charity bib, and then you get to run the races as well. So
Yeah,
we'll see
there's a
what.
ton of them. Like I know we've ran with Give Kids the World, the American Cancer Society. There's a bunch, and you'll see, like, there's a couple of charities that are like staples there, and you'll see them as you're running throughout the parks. They'll have like other people spectating that are like, "Hey, it's Team Determination with the American Cancer Society," and you'll see people donning. Wow, English is hard. Like the race gear of that specific charity, and it's really cool. If you
Yeah,
are a Disney cast member who is listening to this podcast, one thing that I can tell you is that your donations can be matched, aka doubled, through the Walt Disney Company. So, for instance, I'm just going to use a random example. If I know Sally is running with the American Cancer Society and I want to donate $25 or more to her cause, I can do so, and then I can submit a matching request through Disney. And once it's approved, Disney will then double what I did. So they'll be, if
That's
I give
awesome.
her $25, they'll also give her $25, and now she has $50, and I only had
That's
to pay
amazing.
25.
Yeah,
It's really
that's
great.
awesome. Yeah.
It's in the volunteers page. So again, if you are ever interested in donating, it does have to be $25 or more. But definitely do that to make your dollar go further because it's helping great causes. Like none of this
Yeah.
goes towards the runners. It all goes towards these charities.
The charities, yeah, it's awesome. So we're going to look into that potentially for Princess Weekend. But Princess Weekend happens in February. It's a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon. They do a challenge, and the challenge is the 10K and the half. And then you've got Springtime Surprise. That's a 5K, a 10K, and then a 10-mile race. So just 3.1 miles under a half marathon. And I think a major reason they do a 10-mile race that weekend is because typically the temperatures are a lot more warm in Florida
Yeah.
by the time April rolls around. And so springtime gets hot. It's very muggy. It's very hot, and running that additional 3 miles, I think, would be pretty intense on your body in that heat. And then they do a challenge for springtime as well, but that challenge is all three races. So it's the 5K, the 10K, and the 10-mile race. So that's a overview of Walt Disney World, and then Disneyland. I've never run any of the Disneyland races. I know AJ and her mom have, but they do 2 race weekends. But those races are all getting put on pause
Asterisks.
after, yeah, after January of 2026. Everything's getting put on pause, and that's because of all the construction that Disneyland is about to undergo. They're adding an Avatar land. They've got all kinds of projects that they're working on over
Yeah.
there. So
Really
they're
unfortunate. But like I get why they're doing it, but a lot
yeah
of
they're
hardworking
they're
people out there.
yeah, their courses are very limited in terms of like where they're able to go. A lot of their courses are in the city of Anaheim because Disneyland is nowhere near the size of Walt Disney World in terms of like area. And so yeah, so they do 2 race weekends. One is in January. It's a couple weeks after Marathon Weekend. It involves the Dumbo Challenge, which is the 10K and the half marathon, and then they also have a 5K out there, and then they do like a Halloween weekend in September, which is coming up pretty soon. You guys are doing the Halloween races, correct?
We are. I'm
Very exciting.
stoked. Yeah, we're doing the Halloween, which is like the first week of September.
Yeah,
And there's a Hades like well, it's more Pain and Panic, but the challenge is kind of Pain and Panic themed, which is why we're doing it. So
yeah, yeah,
I'm stoked.
yeah. AJ loves Hercules and specifically loves Hades and Pain
Right.
and
And
Panic.
that's like why one of the reasons, like kind of like what Nick mentioned earlier, princess is always going to be princesses, but some of the designs are going to be different. The color schemes are going to be different. Maybe the princess themselves is going to be different. Springtime Surprise, you never know what you're going to get. So that's why it's important that they release the themes early because, like, honestly, with Princess this year, I wasn't the biggest fan of the design choices. And so, like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm going to have FOMO just because I do love Run Disney, but I'm not having FOMO because I'm like, oh, I need that Rapunzel medal this year. Like, I know it's going to be beautiful, blah, blah, blah. They don't even release the medal designs until closer to the
Correct.
actual race. But I will say, like, some of the design choices, like this year for Dopey, it's going to be book themed. Like, there's a fantasy book theme, there's a romance book theme, there's, adventure and sci fi and blah, blah, blah. And I know a ton of people, especially with how popular, like, quote unquote, book talk has been lately. A lot of people are jumping into that race or making it their first races. Like, one of my best friends, Brenna, is doing the half marathon with us because she's like, I'm a book girly. I have to do
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Like, it sucks you in.
Yeah, and it really does. Like when you see a theme that's popular, I'm hoping that they bring back. They used to do Star Wars races
Yes.
for the
Oh, Star Wars
spring.
would be so cool.
Ugh,
Oh, I would
I
love
want it.
Marvel on the.
Yeah,
They do Marvel on the other side,
um,
over at Disneyland, but
yeah,
over at Disney World, they've only ever done like Guardians because that's kind of the
right.
only legal
Yeah,
Marvel that they're allowed to promote.
yeah.
I would love if we ever got the rights back to do the rest of Marvel. Like if there's ever an Iron Man race, I'm losing my mind. If there's ever like a Loki race, I'm losing my mind.
Game on. Yeah. No, there's a lot of like the race themes will pull a lot of runners
Yes.
in for sure because they're excited about the theming. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of what happens over at Disneyland. Disneyland, as far as the history of Run Disney at Disneyland, it started in 19. I had this listed and now I just lost it. I think it's 1995, but Yeah, so another other cool random facts about the history of Walt Disney World and Run Disney. So the when Blizzard Beach opened in 1995, that was added to the marathon like course, which is pretty cool. And that's where like knowing that history behind it is kind of fun, and it makes running through that Blizzard Beach parking lot that much more, you know, bearable, I guess.
Terrible.
Um, and then they this was a fun note that I found, but when it celebrated its Run Disney celebrated its fifth anniversary in '98 and '99, the theme was Herculean entertainment. So I feel like probably a lot of like Hercules vibes, which
Yeah.
makes sense because that's around the time that that movie came out. And that was when the first Donald Duck half marathon debuted. So 5 years later, they did both the half marathon and the full. And then the first 10K took place in '99. But at the time, it cost $50 to run the full marathon and $25 to run the half marathon. Let me tell you, that is not the same.
You can't even get a t-shirt for $25.
Correct.
What?
Correct.
That's
That
sickening.
these races are very costly. It does cost a lot to register for these races, and then the registration is one thing, and then once you like get your hotel, and if you're needing park tickets because you're not a pass holder, all of this adds up
Yes.
pretty significantly
And
for
also, like,
sure.
running itself is just expensive. Shoes are expensive, jugs are
Correct.
expensive, running bras and, gear and this and that.
Yeah.
Running itself is expensive without these crazy prices.
Right. And then when you also I mean, costumes are a big thing that we could probably spend a long time talking about, but just know like people go all out for their costumes. Some of the most creative and cool costumes like they especially exist on the 5K and the 10K courses because those are not as long of distances.
Yeah.
People can run further in like more wild things. I mean, we're talking like cardboard
People,
box
yeah,
cutouts of like
dressing up as like VHS boxes or
yeah.
marionette dolls or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
running in full like onesies or like fur suits and stuff to be these characters. Like people go all
Yeah.
out. People
We've
also
seen,
run in normal running clothes, but
yes,
just know.
we've seen, and yeah, and that's perfectly fine and normal. And you can do these races without any sort of costume. The first time that I did Dopey, I was like, no costumes. Like, I was like, I have got to just like focus on my races and get out there and do my thing. They give you free T-shirts for every race that you register for, and I
Mhm.
ran with those race T-shirts for every single one. Um, And then, but yeah, I mean, the costumes are incredible. We've seen people run in heels. We've seen people do half marathons in heels, which I'm like,
Good for
I don't,
y'all.
I
So
don't know.
glam, like beat, like wigs. People go crazy, and I enjoy
I don't,
it.
I just, it looks painful. To me, I've never worn a heel, but to me, those look painful just walking. And
No,
so I
for
can't
real.
imagine, like,
I can't imagine running in
yeah,
heels. Like the amount of damage that would do to my legs, please.
no,
I could
no.
walk all day. I could walk a marathon
They
in
have
heels.
to
But in
train in
heels,
those,
absolutely not.
I would imagine,
Yeah,
but maybe not.
have to. My legs are
Um,
cracked.
yeah. But
But
yeah, so it's cool. Costumes are it's a fun way to like add that much more enjoyment to your weekend when you're doing these Run Disney races, and even if you're just doing the one race, like if you come up with a fun costume with your family or your friends, like
mhm.
it's cool to like add that layer to it for sure. And those costumes can be totally functional. A lot of times our costumes are like mostly athletic wear, and then
Yes.
like we add some stuff to it to make it like functional but also a little bit of fun. So
Yeah, like the Incredibles outfits we did was literally just like a red sports bra, red leggings that I could wear anywhere else, threw a pair of swimsuit bottoms on, and then we made a felt eye for the Incredibles logo. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't have to get crazy.
Yeah.
Um, there are a couple of really great base layers, for lack of a better term. Like, there's a couple of companies that I can recommend that, like, you have a great starting point on, even if you're not wanting to go crazy full out. Crowned Athletics has some really incredible sets of like leggings and bras and this and that, and some of them are themed to different princesses or different, Disney icons. Sparkle Athletic does really fun skirts and visors. That's where we get all of our visors from. That again, some of them are just, sparkly and cutesy, or they are themed towards like Dopey, or, maybe they're animal print and you can do like a Dalmatian or something for Cruella. And then there's like glitter. I'm a big glitter girly, so like unicorn snot, you just throw some themed glitter on your cheekbones and you're good to go. You're ready to rock and roll. But then when you're also at the expo, there's a ton of people selling, themed bows, themed socks, themed this, themed that. Fit to Run usually has some really cool and really soft like tank tops and t-shirts that have like cute little nods to the themes as well or in the same colors. So even if you're not wanting to go all out and wear, head to toe custom costume spent a bazillion dollars on, there are ways that you can subtly incorporate it without messing up what you're used to. Because I know a lot of people don't go running in costumes, and maybe you're
Yeah.
concerned of what that's going to feel like. That's totally fine. Grab a fun T-shirt and you're called a day. Grab a fun
Yeah.
dry fit, call it a day.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, and the one note on building your outfit though is that whatever you do end up running in, you are going to want to make sure that it's something that you've run in before, or at least that material before if you're doing these longer distances,
Mm-hmm.
because the material can also have a negative effect on your body as well. Like
Yeah, no.
you yeah, you can chafe in areas that you have never chafed before, and you want to protect yourself for sure. Like,
Right.
and I say that because this is real and raw, no pun intended.
Literally.
But, but like, as a man, like I don't wear a sports bra, and so the shirt rubbing against my chest, specifically against my nipples, can be very painful. And there's a lot of guys who struggle with that, where like if it gets if it gets cold because it's like cold
Like
outside
it's
and
freezing in the
you're
morning.
soaked, your shirt may be soaked from sweat, it gets ugly, let me tell you. I think
Real quick.
it was mile 8 and in the marathon during my first dopey, and I was bleeding, and it was just brutal, and it was
Yeah.
painful, and it was awful. So there's waterproof band-aids are your
And you
best
ruined your
friend in
dopey
those
shirt.
scenarios. I did. I did, but it's going on a blanket regardless. I've watched it multiple times. There's stains there, and those are just battle scars at this point. So it's important to take care of your body in all ways, for sure, on those courses, and to pay attention to what material you're running in. But yeah, so that's kind of Run Disney. Obviously, I say that an hour later, but there are races that exist at other theme parks. Universal has done races before. They actually developed something called Running Universal, which took place back in like 2020, 2019. I think it was Universal's response to Run Disney, seeing how popular it had become, and wanting to incorporate their own like sort of running program. But they started it at the beginning of 2020, and well, I'm sure we all know like what the fate of that was after 2020. So they haven't picked it back up. I hope that one day they do. I think it'd be so much fun to do like a race through the Universal parks. Other parks that do it, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, they all have races as well. Typically, those are only like 5Ks, just because of the area that they have to be able to run in. It's not a lot of like space that they have. But they do have races at those parks as well. And that's just the local Orlando parks that I'm familiar with. Have you ever run at any of the other parks before?
No, not at the other parks. I've done Margaritaville before, which is like a resort right down the
Yeah.
road. I've done Margaritaville twice, which was fun, but I want to do the SeaWorld Halloween one this year. It looks so cool.
Those
Um,
are interesting because like I think people like, and they don't chase you for long distances, but they like come after you. It's like a
they can
scare
get a little
run.
spooky. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they just had like a wine and dine sort of
Mhm.
version a couple of
Yeah,
months
we were supposed
ago.
to run that one together, but life was lifing, and we were
Life
nearing
was
the end
like,
of. We were
correct.
getting closer and closer to baby. There were so many things going on that we weren't able to make it, but we do want to do the SeaWorld race eventually together. And like I said, I hope that Universal brings it back because they do have a run club at Universal that AJ made me aware of before we started recording. I don't think it's technically sanctioned by Universal, but I do think it's something that Universal obviously allows because running is not something that you do at theme parks unless you're there for a race. And so it's not allowed. They don't want people running around. That's dangerous and also just like alarming. um, but yeah, so they have a run club. It's all through social media, and it looks like it's a group of people that started this club. But they get together and they run. It looks like around City Walk and maybe like some of the resort loops.
Yeah, it looks like Saturdays at 7:30. I'm gonna
Yeah,
tell you right now that's a little too early for me, but good for y'all. Oh,
definitely
it's
too
cool
early for
though.
me. Universal. is a drive from my house for
Oh
sure, and
yeah,
so
true.
that's not happening. But if they did an actual race, I'd so be
I'd
there
be
for it.
so down. That would be
Yeah.
so sick to run through like the Jurassic Park area and like Harry
Oh
Potter
my
and all
gosh,
that.
it unlocks a whole new world of costumes that you can just like jump into as well. Harry Potter, like
That's what I'm saying. Thing one and thing
um,
two, please. Getting to run through
the
Seuss. That'd be
but
funny.
your mom would have to wear like mother of all things like that kind of
Correct.
clothes.
That'd be so funny.
Yeah,
Oh, Universal,
but
if you're listening, we're down.
we're here for it.
Let's do it.
I will even dress up as a Universal monster that I know nothing about in order to do it. Super Nintendo, are you kidding? Like
Oh,
running
that'd be
around like
cool.
the Mario characters would be so much fun.
That'd be sick.
Wow,
Yeah, I mean
this
that'd be
needs
the
to
thing. You
happen.
have to like that's how you get your 13 miles is you have to go to Epic, go cross the street, run some roadway. Because I know Disney gets a lot of flack for having so much roadway in their races, but like first of all, how else are you gonna get 13 and 26 miles? You got it.
Correct.
Like where else are you gonna go?
That'd be a lot of laps around the parks, and at some point you're just gonna be like, "Here we go, we're going under Cinderella's castle again."
Not
Like,
special. My
no,
brain would be melting after a couple of laps, please.
truly,
But
truly.
no, I would love that. And if there's any races that you guys know of like around the country or other like if like Cedar Point does anything or like
Yeah,
anything like that, that'd be so cool. Let us know.
yeah. I'm
We'll
sure
go on the
that
road.
like, I'm sure that Six Flags does stuff. I'm sure that all of these other parks do things. I'm just not as familiar with them.
Yeah.
And in full transparency, didn't have the opportunity to do that much research before recording this to see what some of the other stuff was. We've kind of just done this on a whim, which I'm super thankful to AJ for jumping in and helping
Thanks
out
for
with it.
having
But
me. No, I'm so happy.
yeah, but that'd be fun. We would totally go do these other races, and I'm sure Hunter would want in on that action as well. Hunter, as much as he was in pain with his marathon experience, he actually did enjoy it, and he even considered doing Dopey this coming year. But the day of registration just didn't register. So,
Yeah.
so
He was like, no, like I give me some
yeah,
time.
it's a commitment for
Um,
sure. But yeah,
yeah,
we that'd be fun to like go to some of the other theme parks across the country and do these races. So.
that'd be awesome.
AJ is also a theme park girly as well. I mean, obviously she's dedicating her time and her life to working at Disney, but
Literally
you've
dedicating my life.
but
It's
you've been able to
true.
do like other parks kind of across the country as well, especially like with your TikTok account. Like you've been invited out to go to. What are some of the parks that you've been able to go to?
Ooh, Carowinds is my baby. I've
Yeah,
gotten a really good relationship with them and their team. And
and
it's
they're
great
in
because
North Carolina.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
North Carolina, which is like right outside of where Wesley grew up. So two birds with one stone. I get to see his family when I go up there. I would love to go back to like my hometown and do Silverwood, which is up in Coeur d'Alene. But yeah, I've done and like Six Flags over Georgia and I have worked together before, and that was
so
really
cool.
cool. They have some cool coasters over there.
Yeah, I there's so many parks that are on our list of places to visit and that we want to go to. I want to go to Dollywood really bad.
Yes, Dollywood would be so fun.
But yeah, so there's it's cool. This community is so much fun, and like AJ and I got to know each other because of a love for Disney and a love for theme parks in general. So it's always cool to like have more people from the space come on and talk about what we're passionate about. And for AJ and I in particular, it's Run Disney. That is the thing
Correct.
that like we are bonded. There's bonds that happen on those courses after you run 26 miles together for
Trauma
sure.
bonding.
Yeah, truly. But it's been fun, and thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it, and we'll be back next week. We teased last week that we were going to talk about favorite mountains at theme parks because Hunter was in Colorado. Hunter ran into like technical issues this week with being able to record, and so we'll see. Maybe we'll revisit that conversation next week, TBD. But thank you all so much for listening. I know for some of you that are Happiest Podcast on Earth listeners, you're like, I've heard all of this before. But
Yeah, correct. Sorry, this is like
here's the
nothing new.
well, that's like we're passionate about it and we love talking about it, and it's so encouraging, and I know AJ can relate to this. It's so encouraging and so powerful when we get on those courses and we get to meet so many people that either listen to the podcast or follow us on social media. And it's even more encouraging when they come up to us and they're like, I'm running this race because of you or because of being inspired by you. Like that is it's just so powerful. It's so cool, and it's such a motivating factor because
No, for
I
sure.
need those motivating factors on the course as well. Sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I don't know how I'm going to push myself to get through these next 3 miles. And it's just cool. It's really cool. I love seeing the way that Run Disney is taken off, because a lot of people are out there and they're so proud of what they accomplish on that course, and it's moving. There's been many a tears shed on those courses before because you get to see people push themselves to do something that they never thought that they could, and I think that's really powerful because I myself have done that and I can relate to it.
Hmm.
So yeah, appreciate you all. Thanks for listening. Thank you, AJ. Again, plug your channels. You're on Instagram, TikTok, all the things.
Yeah, y'all can find me at magically.aj. That's .AyJay. Come hang out. It's a good time. Lots of Run Disney races, lots of wedding planning right now, which is craziness.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we didn't
come
even
say
talk
hi.
about that. But AJ's planning a wedding. She's
Yeah,
getting married in how many
like three
months?
months.
Do you have a day? Do you have like a countdown for the days?
I just happened to see yesterday that it's like 105 days.
Oh my gosh, you're almost at the
So,
100 day marker.
disgusting. Yeah, no, we're getting really close, and
Yeah,
I'm freaking out a tiny bit. I'm also really excited, but like
yeah,
freaking out a tiny bit.
that's very
There's just so
normal.
much to be done still.
You feel not so prepared, but also like excited.
Oh yeah, I'm thrilled.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
gonna be the best day
yeah,
of my life.
yeah,
However, there's still so much to be done.
yeah. It's overwhelming. There's so many
Oh
details
God.
that go into wedding planning.
No,
It's
can I feel it?
unfortunate. Yeah, it's
And I feel like,
unfortunate.
oh, sorry,
Go
go on.
ahead. No, say it.
I was just like, I feel like everyone gets married, right? Like, there's weddings are not an uncommon thing. But even then, I feel like there's so much that I'm learning where I'm like, how did I not know this is all what goes into it? Like, how did none of you tell me? Like, it's insane. I feel
There
like
should
every
be
time,
like a solid manual. I'm sure that there are, but
even then,
you
it
can
probably
read.
doesn't encompass everything that goes into it.
No, no. It's overwhelming, and it's unfortunate that it's overwhelming because you end up stressed for so much of it, and you don't want to be stressed because you want to enjoy it. But it's hard because you want the day to be so great for you, but you also want the day to be so great for everybody that
Mm.
comes and attends. And so it's this like battle of like I need this to be about me, but I also want people to have a great time, you know?
Right. And as
So,
a hospitality girly, as a
yeah.
hospitality professional, I'm feeling that.
Well, whatever it is, like you guys are going to end up so happy and so excited by the end of the day. Like some of those details, I remember Francie got to a point while we were wedding planning where she was like, if someone asked me like the most random detail, I'm like, I'm over it. She's like, I don't care what is on the top of our wedding cake. Like just pick something and put it there.
Just put it
Like
on
she's
there.
like,
No, legit. That's me right
she's
now.
like,
Some of these questions where I'm like, thank you for wanting to include me, but did you have to
make
include
that
me?
decision for me.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, just take
Yeah.
over.
Well, and it's
But
so wild because so much effort and so much planning goes into this day, and then within a few hours, it's over, and you like Francie and I looked back and we were like, I don't remember seeing this. I don't remember seeing this person. Like you forget, and it's unfortunate, but it's real. Like it all happen. It's such a blur when it actually happens that it all happens so fast, and you're just like, I didn't even see what our wedding cake looked like until we were cutting it. And even then, I was so like, whoa, we're actually cutting our wedding cake right now that you didn't even realize what was happening, kind of thing. So there's
no,
so many
legit.
like, there's so many like little details that go into it, but that those details you're like unaware of on the actual day of the wedding. So
Correct. Like, we were booking our DJ yesterday and we were planning out the hours, and we're like, it's gonna be 7 hours, and then the
yeah,
best day of our lives is over. Like,
yeah,
from ceremony to
yeah.
7 hours, and that's it.
It's wild.
Crazy.
It goes so quickly, and that's why it's
So
important to just
fast.
like at some point just be like, all right, this is going to be what it is, and we're just going to enjoy it and have a good time. And it's the coolest day ever too because all of your favorite people are in one place celebrating you, and that's so special and so exciting. And I feel like you'll have a lot of people, especially your mother, rallying behind you to make sure that you are taken care of and celebrated that day for sure. So
Correct. It's gonna be great.
yeah,
Stressful, but great.
yeah. Well, I'm excited for you. I can't wait. I'm excited for the wedding. But
I'm so worried.
again, thank you so much for hopping on this week, and we appreciate it. Thank you everybody for listening. Stay tuned. We'll be back next week, and we'll see you real soon.
Bye bye.